Hello and welcome back, beautiful soul, to another exciting episode of Permission to Follow Your Inner GPS. Wouldn't it be nice if you could connect to angels, to spirit, to source, whenever and wherever you want? Believe in your own magic with such conviction that no one could ever again make you feel anything less than your magnificent self. Know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is safe for you to shine your light and to be seen. Trust your inner guidance and be able to quiet that annoying conscious mind ego chitter chatter that tries to call you out, because it's very easy, it's risky to follow your own gut hunches. I don't know why I get nervous at these things, but we're just going to go on from here. Y'all know that we just are natural here. My beautiful guest, Eva Love, I have actually had the privilege and the honor to meet this beautiful soul in person. And we were just at the New Media Summit. So by now, it'll probably be 30 days or so from now, but we met last week, and it's just a pure joy and an honor. So welcome, Eva, and I would love to just give our audience a little bit about you, and then we're going to dig right into your journey. Would that be all right with you?
Sounds wonderful, Terry.
Awesome. So this beautiful lady, her whole focus is about helping others to see that no matter what their age, weight, or physical beauty, they can have a loving, fun relationship where the chemistry lasts a lifetime. It's not about the physical stuff. It's all a spiritual journey where they can attract the right and exact person for them. So, beautiful lady, without further ado, please tell us more about you and how you got started to where you are.
Well, it started with me having 2 divorces, which were devastating. And the second one was particularly devastating because I found my 6'4", 300-pound husband kicking my 16-year-old daughter. I came home early from work one night and one afternoon and walked in on him, and she's screaming, and I'm like, what is going on? And I was devastated because I had been beaten as a child, and I didn't want either one of my children to have to go through that. And so, of course, I divorced him, but I couldn't get over it. I couldn't get over the fact that how could this be going? That had been going on the whole 4 years we were married. How could this have been happening? And I didn't know about it. And they didn't tell me because he told them that if they told me, that they would just get in trouble again. And the fact that they believed that just killed me. It just killed me. And after 6 months of just crying and crying and crying, I drove to the top of the mountain to drive off a cliff. Literally.
I understand that kind of a feeling, beautiful. Yeah, I really do.
I just felt like I was worthless. I just felt like I didn't deserve to breathe the air. I had screwed up so badly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to myself, when I'm gone, everything will be okay. That's the mentality. I mean, I was so depressed that was what I was thinking. Now, obviously that wasn't true. And as I was driving down where I was going to drive off, I heard a voice, and I hadn't heard that voice in a long time. And the voice said, Eva, stop the car. Don't do this. You're sick. It's like you've got the flu. You'll get over it. And I was able to stop the car. And then I went into therapy because I thought, man, I was so devastated when I realized what I'd almost done. I was just horrified. I was like, how could I have ever even thought that? But I had.
Well, sure, because if you grew up with that kind of experiences, the abuse, and then you let this person into your house and he did it while you were not home, then what kind of a person really were you to begin with? You must not be worth anything. Right. I understand that.
Yeah, no, it was awful. So anyway, I for 3 years, I went to every kind of therapist, healer, spiritual practitioner, ministerial counseling, hypnotherapy. I mean, just a shaman. I did everything. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to heal myself, and all I was doing was getting more and more miserable because I realized how screwed up I really was.
Oh, so as you were discovering more about the roots or the causes or the whatevers, and it wasn't helping you, but it actually helped or kind of created an adverse effect.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what was going on. So after 3 years, one night, I just didn't know what else to do. I'd done everything I knew to do. And I said, God, help me. And actually, I had thought God had given up on me. I thought I had screwed up so badly that, to try to kill yourself is pretty bad. And so I just felt like I had really screwed up. But anyway, I didn't know what else to do, but just to cry out to God. And in that moment, I had the most profound spiritual experience that I'd ever had in my life, that I've ever had since. I mean, it was this love came in, this warmth, this light. I mean, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't have experienced it. I would have thought, that doesn't really happen. It really happens.
I understand. You read books about, somebody saw this angel or somebody had that experience. You go, yeah, whatever. That's like just too woo-woo out there for me.
Yeah.
And yet, you had it.
When you had the experience. And so I just said, God, what do you want me to do? And what I heard was go to bed. And I thought, that's exactly what I need to do. And so then I got up, I went to bed, got up the next morning, and these tools came to me, these techniques, this series of techniques came to me. And I started using them on myself. I mean, it was like for 3 weeks, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything other than go to work. I would come home from work and I would think, okay, what do I want to do tonight? And I was like, I want to work on myself. And I just worked on myself and used these tools. And within 3 weeks, my whole life changed. I mean, everything.
That's interesting that you just said 3 weeks because you had been working on this for 3 years.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, I just had an epiphany moment. May I share it?
Yes, please.
So, and you probably already know this, but this is like, oh my goodness. And y'all, this is the first time that we're actually having this conversation. I did know a teensy bit about this beautiful soul's journey. However, this part, I'm hearing it for the first time the same as y'all are. So here's the epiphany moment. Oh, I just got chills. So those 3 years were meant for you to experience all the things that don't always work or don't mostly work when there's the spiritual element that is missing or out of alignment. So 3 years, and then within 3 weeks.
Yeah, Terry, I'd never put that together myself until just now.
Oh my goodness.
I never correlated the two, but I see now. But anyway, so what happened was, thank you for that. What happened was that my roommate, she was like, what are you doing? What has happened to you? And my people at work were like, where did this woman come from? It's like, what are you doing? Because they were used to me kind of walking around kind of angry and upset and just not in a good place. And then all of a sudden here I am laughing and, kind of this effervescent bubbly thing coming out of me. And they're just like, who is this woman? So anyway, my roommate came to me and she said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, I want you to teach me. I'm going to invite a couple of my girlfriends over on Saturday morning. They're going to be here at 9:00 and you're going to teach us. And I was like, okay.
Talk about divine intervention. Now that you got it, now that you're doing it, now we're going to shove you
into teaching. Yeah.
But very persistently, now you're going to be teaching this. How amazing.
Yeah. And so pretty soon I was teaching every night of the week, every weekend. And I loved it. And I had private practice. People were coming to me because they didn't want to be in classes. They wanted to work privately. Right. So I had private practice going on. And finally, I had a big corporate job. I had, two departments that reported to me. I was on the executive board. I had a big responsible job that women would die to have, And I quit. I put in my notice, gave my 2-week notice, and said, this is nothing compared to what I'm doing. And, you know, everybody was like, how could you give up all that money and all that prestige and all that power and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, easy, because this is my passion. This is what I love more than anything I'd ever done in my life. It was just amazing. And then as I was teaching these classes, what I noticed is that a lot of the people that came wanted to have a relationship. And I mean, I didn't call this a relationship class.
Mm-hmm.
This was just me teaching them the tools, and they could use it on whatever they wanted to. But what I noticed is that a lot of these, especially a lot of the single women, were coming to me, and single men were coming because they wanted a mate. And so one night, this woman, class finished, and her new boyfriend showed up to pick her up, and she wanted to introduce me to him. And so I invited him in, and I taught my classes in my home. I had a lovely home. And so anyway, she introduced him, and then I could just see that there was something really powerful going on between them. And I thought to myself, I've been married twice, engaged 4 times, and I've never felt that.
Wow.
And I want that. I want that. That was really, you know, and because I had decided that I would probably never marry again because, you know, things had not gone well for me in marriage, you know.
Right.
And I just thought, you know, maybe I'm just not cut out for marriage. Maybe, you know, my picker's broken and I don't know how to, you know, get the right man. But then when I saw that, I was like, oh, I got tools. And so I went to work on attracting my perfect guy, my wonderful, amazing husband, who we've been together for 25 years. And we're still in love, and my heart still does a little flip when I see him in the morning.
I see that in your face.
Yeah. I mean, this marriage has been the most, I call it enchanted, because it's enchanted. It's just magical. I mean, we love each other, and we just nurture each other at such a deep level, and we support each other, and we are, you know, we're kind to each other. All the things that really are required. As a matter of fact, in 2001, our friends and our family kept saying to us, I don't know what you guys are doing, but whatever it is, we want you to teach us how to have a relationship like that. And so we started teaching a weekend retreat on teaching couples and singles how to have that kind of a magical relationship. But,
nice. Now, there's one question or one that they're nudging me on. Eva did attract her perfect mate. Perfect for her doesn't mean that there's not anything, you know, no bumps, none of that stuff, because I want to make sure whoever's listening to this doesn't go, oh.
Yeah, no, we have our challenges like everybody, but we just deal with it differently.
Exactly, and that's like, what I want our viewers to hear.
Yes, we disagree on things. He's a man, I'm a woman. I mean, just that. We're going to have differences in the way we see things, right? Because men think so differently from women. And women are, you know, a complete enigma to most men. Fortunately, my husband really understands who I am. And he, you know, like the other day, he said to me, you know, honey, I think, you know, you're really upset about this thing. And I think it would be good if you just let it go. And I was like, oh, right. I just need to let this go. But he knew I was holding on to something that it wasn't about him. It was about some other situation going on in our life. But he knew that I was upset. And instead of criticizing me, which doesn't work at all, he just said, you know, this sweet thing in a very loving way that helped me just go, oh, and I just let it go. So the tools that I have are wonderful because every once in a while I'll forget to use them and he'll remind me, you know? Just because you have tools, you know, you got the hammer in the toolbox, but if you don't get it out and use it, it doesn't do you any good, you know?
Very, very, very true. Yes. So what was the point, going back to the 3 years part, where
Yeah.
you were going through different modalities and different kinds of therapists and shamanic healers and la la la. What was the turning point for you when you said, you know, this
Well,
isn't working?
I I just felt discouraged. I felt tremendously discouraged. I just was in despair, actually. I mean, I just didn't know what else to do. I had just done everything I had spent. I mean, you can't believe the money I'd spent. And I'd taken classes and I'd taken, I'd worked privately with people, and I just had done everything that was put in front of me. Anybody that said, I can help you, I was just shelling out the dollars. I would just say, okay, when can we start? And then it would work, and I would just be.
Excuse me, why do you think some of those didn't work for you? Because they can work for a lot of people, but why did they not work for you?
That's a good question.
Just one of them. Just think of
Yeah.
one of them, whatever comes to mind. Like the shaman, actually, that keeps coming up. Why did that particular? Because I've worked with a shaman before for several years, and that was mostly for energy clearing,
Yeah.
though not other work. And for that, it worked very well until I was told to stop. But so why did any one of those things didn't work for you? Never
Yeah.
mind.
Terry, if I knew the answer to that, I probably would have worked for me.
Okay.
I really don't know. I'm sitting here listening for the answer. Like, what was it? And I just don't. I don't know. I don't know
Okay.
why.
Okay.
All I know is that at the end of that 3 years, sitting in my living room with tears just flowing down my face, and just feeling like a failure all over again. Like I've, here I've done all this, I've done all this work, and I was a good student. I didn't just, like when I work with clients, I make them commit to doing the homework, because if they don't do the homework, the change isn't going to happen.
Exactly.
And yeah, and so I would, and I would do the homework, and I would, follow through, and I would read the books, and I would do whatever they told me to do. And, I got some insights. I'm not saying that I didn't get any insights,
No,
but
but
I didn't
you
get any
weren't
change. I didn't get any
right.
action. I had a lot of knowledge, and I had a lot of spiritual language, but it was all up in here. It wasn't in here.
And that's, however, however spirit and the angels or source got you to that point, it's like, okay, and you asked for or demanded or claimed your intervention through source itself. Thankfully, you got to that point, because there was something in there, and we don't even have to name it. We do care, but it's apparently not relevant to your story. So tell us a little bit, if you would please, beautiful, how it is, or some more results from your favorite clients, because I would love for our viewers to get a sense of what it means to be doing this kind of work with someone like you.
Yeah. So I've had over 7,500 clients in the 29 years that I've been doing this work. And 87% of them are either married or in a committed relationship within 12 months.
Nice.
So, I do have really good success. And that's just with the singles. Now there's a whole nother statistic for the couples, but anyway, I'm just focusing on the singles right now, because that seems to be where there's more pain. There's so much pain with singles wanting to have a relationship and not understanding why can't they have it? And then they have all these ideas about why they can't have it, which are not true. But as long as you have the idea, you're projecting that out. So one of the things, like, so the gift that I'm going to offer your listeners is the 10 myths about men that, keep you from having the relationship you want, and how to bust those myths. So you see, the beliefs that we have are a feedback loop. So if you have a belief, like let's say a lot of my clients think men are jerks. Matter of fact, about 50% of the women who come to me think men are jerks because they have all this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm thinking about one who came to me and she'd had, this guy that had, dumped her, and this guy that had cheated on her, and this guy that, all these guys, and where she had really thought something was real and had, could happen. And so she came to me and I said, well, what if you shifted that belief that men are jerks into that, there are men that are jerks. I mean, I'm not going to deny that there aren't men that are jerks, but how about believing that there are really great men? And so we worked on that belief. So what I do with my clients is I actually take them into their subconscious, mind and actually work with them to shift their belief and then to create a new belief, a belief, not a thought. See, there's a difference between a belief and a thought. And a lot of people think just change your thinking, change your life. But actually, in the late 80s, Stanford did a study that said that we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and those thoughts have very little effect on our life. That what affects us is what we believe. That's where our energy is, because when you have a belief, your energy is attached to your belief. And the energy is actually what causes you to produce the results you have in your life. So let's say you're in fear, like a lot of my clients come to me and they're in fear. They're in fear about lots of things. They're in fear about not having a relationship. They're in fear about money. They're in fear about their parents. They're in fear about their children. They're in fear about, all kinds of things. Well, that fear, the more fear you have, the more you produce what you're afraid of.
Yes.
What thou fearest shall come upon thee, said Job, right? So when you have that fear, we have to work through it. We have to get to the bottom of it, find out the source of it, and then, work through it so you can let it go and release yourself from it, and then create the thing that you want instead of the thing you don't want. So I always say, put your energy into what you do want, and energy, not just your thinking, right. And then you will produce that result in your life. It's not woo-woo. It's not, it's just the laws of the universe in operation. It's just how things work. And, I just believe that it is, it is law. It's just law. And if you obey the laws of the universe, you'll get the results you want. And when
Absolutely.
and when I say obey the laws of the universe, what I mean is if you put your energy into what you want instead of what you don't want. So, when you ask people, what do you want? The first thing out of their mouth is usually what they don't want.
The same with my clients, and we turn that around very quickly.
Yeah.
Because, and here's my understanding of thoughts and energy and beliefs, is a thought repeated often enough tends to become a truth. Yeah. A truth practiced often enough becomes a belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And most of these beliefs, I think, come from our childhood. We're not even aware of what we've accepted as a child. We were raised in an environment, and most of the time what we do is when we get to the bottom of it, it's something that happened in their childhood. And, and it's not that people had terrible childhoods. A lot of people come to me and they say, I had a beautiful childhood. There's nothing wrong with what happened to me. And I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, what did you accept at that tender young age that, is producing this result? And I'm not asking that in a hypothetical because I'm not asking them to come up with it in their head, because what I always teach people is how to get out of their head and to get into their heart, how to move into their body to feel. A lot of people don't allow themselves to feel because they don't know how to control their feelings. And so what they do is they suppress them. And so there's 4 things you can do with your feelings. One is the number one that we do in our culture is suppress. So that means we push it down. And what happens to those feelings is they don't go anywhere. They're just not in our consciousness anymore. they're still operating in our life. So
Yes.
like, a lot of people get stuck in unresolved grief because they never allowed themselves to feel the feelings. And so that's usually what causes people to get stuck in their lives, is they have not grieved some loss. It doesn't have to be the loss of a person. It could be the loss of a job, or it could be the loss of a home, or it could be the loss of, a pet. I don't know. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be, some big loss. It could be just, but for them, it was big.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, and the number two is then what we do is we do what is called addiction. Okay. So when somebody is addicted, what they're doing is they're using a substance or an activity. Could be sex, could be exercise, it doesn't have to be alcohol, drugs, whatever, but it's an addiction, could be work that keeps them from feeling. So that's the number two way that we deal with our feelings, is we do addiction. And then number three is we express. So those people that are just like, they wear their heart on their sleeves and they just blow up at a moment's notice, or they just, cry, at the drop of a hat, because all they know how to do is just express their feelings, and they don't modulate them. And then the number four, which is the thing that I teach, is how to acknowledge, first of all, make friends and acknowledge your feelings. I'm feeling upset. It's okay if I'm upset. I feel jealous. It's okay. I used to think jealousy was just the most, trashy thing you could do. And I wouldn't admit that I was jealous. And finally I was dating this guy. This was before I met my husband. And I was just in a jealous rage. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I so upset? And it was like, you're jealous and you don't want to admit it. And it was like, oh my gosh. And I was just like, okay, jealousy, I'm going to make friends with you. I'm not going to push you away anymore, so that I can just go right through you. I can just let you go and just make peace with you. And then I never was bothered with the jealousy again.
Nice.
Yeah. So, to me, the important thing is to make friends with your feelings. If you're upset, okay, it's all right. We've got this culture of positivity that is, I think, very detrimental. Put a smile on your face no matter how you feel. Well, I'm sorry, but there are going to be days you're down. It's just part of being, well, first of all, it's part of being human, but it's also part of being a woman, because we have 2 hormonal baths a month. And our emotions are just like this. And when we try to stay steady because our husbands want us to, or our boyfriends, or whoever man we're around, because they don't know how to deal with all that emotion. So we just try to be like they are. And we're, men, their emotions are like this. They're just like, real even and steady. And that's just how they are. And it's okay, but that's not how we are. And we need to understand that. We need to give ourselves compassion for, like, being upset, or being, like crying for no reason. Like sometimes women just cry and it's okay, and the more you push it away and you try to stop yourself from crying, the more you'll cry. And, I remember having that one night. I was again, the same boyfriend before I met my husband, and he'd done something and I was crying about it. And I was ashamed of myself for crying, because I thought I shouldn't be crying, right? Shouldn't. and I couldn't stop crying. And I wanted to stop crying. I was just trying so hard to stop crying, but I would just, and it was like big cry. It was not like a little cry. It was a big cry. And finally it came to me, it's okay if you cry, just give yourself permission to cry. And I was like, okay, that sounds right. So I gave myself permission to cry and I stopped.
And on that note, that's a perfect place to stop. I am so glad that you followed your inner GPS. Yes. You went through that 3 years. I'm not glad that you went through the 3 years and didn't get a lot out of it in some ways. And in some ways you got out huge amounts of something.
Well, I think that not getting anything out of that 3 years, or not getting what I wanted out of that 3 years, led me to the breakthrough.
Absolutely.
So
And
I don't
then,
regret it. I don't feel bad about it. I
no,
just, like, you know, it was just what it was.
it was your pathway, and what I'm trying to get at, and I sometimes get a little distracted from all of the up here stuff, is that because of that part of the journey, and you having that epiphany moment with Source itself, and then your friends and your colleagues noticed it, so many people have benefited from that. This, beautiful soul, is why we have this podcast, because there are so many different journeys, so many different ways to help you get to where you want to be, to get out from behind your own self.
Yes.
And this beautiful lady has shared all of that with us. Please, Eva, share with us how our viewers and our listeners can find you.
Okay. Well, I said I have a gift for you all. And so, and if you know, even if you're married, you know, you don't have to be single, even though it says it's for singles, it would be very valuable for you. And it's go to Eva Love, EVALOVE.net/10, the number 10, just 10, myths, MYTHS. So evalove.net/10 myths. And that way they'll get the free gift. And like I said, even if you're not single, you'll get a lot from it, and you'll see where maybe some of the hiccups are happening in your relationship.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that so much. And thank you for your time and just being so open about your journey and sharing it with all of us.
Thank you so much. I got to tell you, I just adore you. I love the show. I think it's so important to have this out in the world.
Yes. So many people, unfortunately, get stuck in their own stuff, and they feel like they're all alone. And that's the whole purpose of this, you know, permission to follow your inner GPS, because we need more of you, beautiful soul, doing your thing, like Eva and so many of our other guests.
Yeah.
So we also have a free gift for you on angeldreamteam.com. That is Angels, Success, and Prosperity. Become a mover and shaker of your reality. We appreciate you so very much. Thank you for your time, your energy, and for joining us. And thank you, Eva, for being here with us. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.